Hello and welcome to Soulfit Podcast. I'm your host, Camille Babin. I'm truly excited to have you here today. This podcast is all about identity, purpose, and prosperity from within. So join me each week as we dive into insightful conversations and inspiring stories that will help you live your life to the fullest. Hello and welcome to Soulfit. I'm your host, Camille Babin. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Today, I want to talk about something that we all familiar with, and it's probably something that you say all the time. And you say, "This is who I am," or "This is how I am," right? And I'm sure you've said it. I've said it many times. But today we want to talk about stop living by default. If I can sum it all up, that's what I will tell you. Stop living by default. And I'm saying that because over the past weeks, actually, the Lord was highlighting this thing to me. You know, how so many of us feel comfortable in just being who we are, in just accepting, and saying, even using that excuse of, oh, this is who I am, so that we will not change. So today, consider that the message that I'm bringing to you, I come with an alarm or I come with the bell. I mean, I don't know if it's a trumpet or a drum or whatever, but it's really to wake us all up, so that we can see the truth and we can see also the lies, the things that are there that, we just accept it without even questioning, without realizing, without thinking. Because yes, there's who we are, right? There is, we have our personality, we have our unique identity, we are wired differently, we love different things, we do things differently, and that is also based on our experience. It is based on even the things that we have inside of us. And I mean, so many different factors can affect who we become and who we are. But at the same time, I want us to have that understanding. I want us to have that awareness that if we continue to just accept things the way they are, we don't realize that we're living our life by default. We don't realize that, we just are submissive instead of just being proactive, instead of really taking charge. And again, I'm not even saying that in the context in relationship with the Lord, because that is completely different. That is the posture that we should have with Him. But I'm talking about the decisions that we choose not to make or that we do not make, or the situations that we do not challenge, right? We accept the status quo by just saying, this is who I am. And we accept certain circumstances and situations that we were not supposed to accept. And that is because I think sometimes we don't want to do the work. We don't want to push the envelope to really find out who we really are. It's easier to just accept what people have said. It's easier to just say, you know what, this is who I am. So this way, it prevents you from doing the work that is required. It gives you license to continue to do the things that you don't want to do, or to accept the situations that you're in. It gives you reasons not to fight harder, because that's the bottom line. Because once we ask ourselves a question, or once we assess the situations and we see that it doesn't have to be that way, or this is not really who I am, or maybe we ask ourselves the question, who am I? And maybe that's who you were in a certain phase of your life. But do you ask yourself the question, who am I becoming? Because for me, I see life as a process. I see life as a constant evolution. I see life as, like we are called to become and to transform and to grow, right? And to be renewed even on a daily basis. So that means we cannot say that this is who I am, because in saying that, we're really accepting the fact that we are the same person that we were when we were 5 years old or 10 years old or 20 years old, which is not the case. And of course, I know that there are certain things that don't change, right? Like your name is your name, like who you are, like coming from the bloodline and the family that you came out of, that doesn't change, of course. But sometimes what we use as an excuse to say, this is who I am, it's not really who we are. It's who we accept to be. There is a difference. It's really who you accept to be. It's probably what life has made of you. It's probably the experiences that you went through. It's probably the setbacks and the trials and the challenges and the difficulties and the hurdles and the obstacles and all these different things, even the good, not just the bad, but even the good. And we can easily be content with that. We can easily embrace it and just, like kind of mold those things and allow those things to shape us and to define us. But today, why am I coming with this message? Because I felt in my spirit that the Lord was saying, this is not who you are. And He wants you to go back to who He says you are, because too many times we accept the labels of the world. We accept what people have said, whether good or bad. And I think last week I touched upon that even those labels are not always bad. They can be good, but it might not be what God has called you. Like if somebody is calling you or seeing you, maybe like in a certain industry, in a certain field, and they say this is, like let's say, for example, you were born in a family of welders. I don't know why, but it's just the example that come to my spirit right now. But you were born, from a family of welders or from a family of architects, and then they keep, throughout your life, that's what you've heard. This is who we are. This is what we do, because maybe your grandfather was architect, your father was an architect, or, so it's like everybody around, or even lawyers or doctors or teachers. And then you've embraced it. And there's nothing wrong. Those professions are noble professions. But at the same time, it may not be you. Not because your father was a welder or a teacher or an architect or whatever means that this is you. But as long as you accept it, like this is, like this is my path. This is what I'm going to do. And then we don't understand sometimes why we're miserable. We don't understand why we keep trying and we keep doing, and we feel like we're cheating ourselves of something. We're robbing ourselves of something. We don't even realize all the time. But it's only because we've accepted that, reality and that path as saying, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I'm supposed to do. And we don't give ourselves permission to challenge that. And I felt like today, that's what the Lord was saying. Like, sometimes we're just so excited, especially this time around with the holidays. It's easy to say, oh yes, it's the end of the year, New Year is coming. But what will really change in your life this year? Think about that, because so many times we witness the year changing, but we don't see the change in our own lives. We don't see us, changing, or we don't expect us to change. We put the burden on the year, on the calendar. It's like it's a new day, or it's a new year, it's a new month. We want the month to be new and us staying old. We want the year to change, but we refuse to do the adjustment. So today I'm really coming so that we don't approach this year the same way. We don't end even this year the same way. That we have to have literally like a mindset change. We need to reframe our thinking. We need to let go and really ask the questions that we don't always want to ask. Because the thing is, you will never get an answer to a question you never asked. We have to ask the questions. And sometimes, yes, there will be difficult questions. There will be hard questions for us to ask, especially when it comes to reflection questions, like those questions that push us to reflect on our life, that push us to question and to, really revisit things and kind of even be forced to change or to adjust, because the reality is, we don't like to ask ourselves those questions or even answer those questions, because as soon as we have the answer, automatically we know what's next. We know that it means that there's some action that we need to take, and we're not always ready or willing to take that action. So today I come really to encourage you. I come to like even as a cheerleader and just clapping and cheering you on and said, do not go back to the old ways. Do not go back, to just your status quo. Don't be content where you are. Again, it's not a call to being ungrateful, but it's a call for you, to just seek the more that God has for you, because you know that you are called for more. You know that there is so much inside of you. And when you look at your life, and if you really pay attention to your life, you will recognize and admit that there is a longing in your soul. You will recognize that there are aspects and there is a void that has not been fulfilled. And I beg you not to fill it with anything, because sometimes that's the mistake we make. We acknowledge the hole, we acknowledge the void, or the longing we have. and we just go for the shortcut. We go for the easiest way. We go, for the solution that seems to be readily available instead of doing the work. Instead of going for that real thing that God has for us, that the very peace that can fit in that space. We just fill it with anything. And I don't want this year to be the same. I don't want us, to approach this year is like, oh yes, getting all excited, but then we refuse to do the work that we're supposed to do. Don't, again, lay that burden on the year. Because if we really think deep about it, a year is only another day, really. Because it will be December 31st soon, and it's only next day. That's another year, really. So we cannot put that much weight on the year and, let ourselves off the hook. What do you do to see this year be a year of change? What do you do to make sure that you're really living to the fullest of your capacity, to the maximum of your potential? What do you do to make sure that this year doesn't look like the year before or even worse than? So that's really what I want us, to consider today. And when I say stop living by default, I'm talking about those decisions that you haven't made. I'm talking about, the answers that you have not given. I'm talking about the steps that you refuse to make because you're content and you just hide behind this is who I am. I really come today to pull off the covers and let you know and let you see that this is not who you are. This is what you choose to be. This is what you accept to be. This is the life that you content with. This is the life that you have embraced. But is it really the life that you are called to live? Is it really what God has spoken about you? Because if it's not the case, then you have to rise up and you have to decide, this will be different. I choose to live differently. And even for myself, it's something that I learned to do. I learned to pray this prayer, and I'm just sharing that with you, hoping that you can just transform it. You can adapt it, make it your own. But I said, I always pray and I said, Lord, help me rise up and become the version of myself that you have called me to be. So every year I said there is a version of me that needs to shine. There's a version of me that needs to come out, just like I love the process. And I think I shared that before. I said one of the most powerful words in my life, that have really transformed me, one of them, especially throughout this year and the last year, it's been the word become. Really, it's like those simple things, but it's like once you embrace that truth and you allow yourself to dig deep, it brings so much freedom. And for me, even considering that word becoming, it gave me freedom. It gave me more space to expand, to increase, right, to change, and to not even conform to what people were expecting of me, to live beyond, the world's expectation of me, the society, and even the people that I care and love. Because that's the thing. Sometimes even the people that you love can really be the one that put that lead over you. That's, set the, not even knowing, sometimes it's unintentional. It's out of love. But it's not God's love, it's like really constraining you, not even knowing, because they feel like they want to protect you. They want to help you, right? And they want to make sure that you don't get hurt or you don't do the wrong thing. But the thing is, they don't know. So for me to embrace that word, I gave myself room to grow. I gave myself room to change. I gave myself permission, to do something Monday and to come on Friday and say, we don't do that anymore. Because sometimes that's the hard part. We feel stuck. This is what I've always done all my life. This is what I've always said I wanted to do. Oh, I've started this thing. Now if I stop, what will people think? No, give yourself permission to become who God says you are. Don't settle with what people think, with who people say you are and what they think and expect from you. So that's really my prayer, because at the end of the day, the year will change, but there is no guarantee that our lives will be different unless we decide we make a change. Unless we, again, stop living by default. We've been programmed and we don't even understand. And it's not to cast blame on anybody, because that's the rule of the game. But at the same time, you and I, we have the power, and we even have the duty, I will say, to take back our authority, to claim the identity that we have been given in Christ. We have to go back to who God says we are. And if God says today you are a flower, and I'm just giving it, an example. If God says you're a flower today, be that flower. If tomorrow he calls you to be like a pillar, be that pillar and be okay with it. If in the season God said, be a teacher, teach. Then if in another season he calls you to be a friend, be that friend. If later on God says, I call you, like as a husband, then be that husband. Whatever God says, sometimes we want what we want instead of just embracing, what God is performing through us, instead of aligning ourselves. And the thing is, if we always resisting God's wind and God's plan and God's way, and even His Spirit flowing through us, we don't understand that. That's why we feel the stress. That's why we feel the anxiety. That's why we feel depression. All these emotions and feelings, although they are real, but they stem from the fact that because we are resisting God's will, because we are trying to live our life in a mode, in a way that wasn't God's design. So now God is saying, I need you to agree with me. I need you to take charge. I need you to get back in line so we can do that together. I don't want you to just accept everything that the world is throwing at you, that life is bringing your way. You have the power to make the decision to do something new, to do something different, to do something that hasn't been done, and be okay with it. So really, that's what I'm coming for. Today I just come to challenge you. I come to, at the same time, encourage you. And I know it's not an easy way. I know, it's not the best thing we want to hear. Because sometimes it's easy. Because it's like you just scroll through life, and I mean, life is good, right? As long as you don't have to make any change. Everybody wants to be comfortable, but you are not called to be comfortable. You are called to grow. You are called to make an impact. You are called to make a difference. You are called to be the light of the world, the salt of the earth. And there is nothing comfortable about that. There is absolutely nothing comfortable about your life. God is asking you to rise up higher. God is asking you to really take, leave the autopilot mode and just now come in active mode. Go for the dreams that is laid on your heart. Go for the word that have been spoken over you. Go for the things that people say, oh, this is impossible. Go for the impossible. Go for the impossible. Go for the great. Go for the exceeding, the abundant, the incredible, the extraordinary, because there is nothing ordinary about you. And if you haven't heard anything, please, that's what I want you to remember. That you are not doing God a favor by living your life the way you're living, like that, just cruising through life and hoping that life will bring the change that you desire. No, you are the change that you desire. You are the author of your life. As long as you put your hand in God's hand, as long as you align yourself with His principles, with His word, with His promise, then you will never be okay with living your life the way you have been living. And even all of us, there are aspects of our lives where we've really lived on autopilot. We've been cruising, thinking it was okay, we were doing it. But God is like, I need you to awaken right now. I need you to realize, that there is more than what you've been okay with. So that's all I have for today. I really hope that this message will encourage you. I hope that it will give you the strength and the, just the push that you need to say, you know what? I will not approach this year the same way. I will do something different. I will make the change. I will stop living by default. I will really now, be intentional about the choices that I make and the decisions that I make. And don't be afraid to visit or revisit the questions and the plans, all these different things, and see where you have to tweak, see what you have to change, see what you have to choose to do, and just do it. And I pray God's strength over you as you make that step. God will meet you where you are. God will help you go where you need to be, and He will help you live the life that you are meant to live. So God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. And by God's grace, I will be back next week. So in the meantime, don't forget to just give yourself permission to become. So God bless you. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I hope you leave feeling empowered and inspired. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, leave a review if you enjoyed today's conversation. Until next time, stay well.